When my 16-year-old daughter came out, my mom hung up, then called me screaming, "She's sick! She needs an exorcism." The next day, grown men started messaging us, asking if she was available for marriage. My mom had given them her number. I told her, "You're never speaking to my kids again." She said, "You're the problem. You failed as a wife and a mother." So I cut her off, called the police, and filed for a restraining order. Now she's under investigation for something she did to my sister decades earlier. And last week, she messaged my brother saying, "Please, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Tell her I'm still her mother." So I never thought I'd be that person posting in this subreddit, but after the week I've had, I'm not even sure what else to do anymore. I, 45F, am a single mom to two teenage daughters, 14 and 16. I've been doing everything I can to keep them safe and sane after a storm of absolute chaos. And now their own grandmother, my mother, 71F, is trying to marry them out. Yeah, that's where we're at. Let me back up a bit. I'm the third of 13 kids. My mom is originally from Guatemala and moved to the US when she was 14. She married my dad when she was 16, started having kids immediately, and never stopped. She's always been a deeply traditional woman, like 1950s housewife values turned up to 100. I'm talking women exist to bear children levels of traditional. She was a homemaker, never held a job, and made it very clear that her daughters were expected to follow in her footsteps. Most of my siblings noped out as soon as they could. Some are no contact. Two have sadly passed away. I'm the only one who stayed close and took care of our parents as they got older. I wish I could say that was out of love. It wasn't. It was guilt. And honestly, fear. Since my dad passed 5 years ago, I've been covering my mom's bills. Groceries, rent, her cell plan, everything. She's always been controlling and dramatic, but in the last few years it's gotten worse. After my husband died earlier this year, she basically lost her mind. And not in a grieving way. She blamed me. She said it was my fault that my husband cheated because I was too focused on my career, that I didn't give him enough children. We have two. He originally said he only wanted one and then suddenly decided he wanted a football team after we got married, that I wasn't pretty anymore, that I was lazy for only having two kids. Oh, and this part will make your blood boil. My mother actually helped my husband mess with my birth control because she knew better and thought I should have more kids. So my second daughter wasn't exactly planned, and I love her to the moon and back, but yeah, after she was born, I had my tubes tied, secretly, because I didn't trust anyone anymore. Anyway, fast forward a few years. My husband died in a car crash earlier this year. He was 49. Turns out he'd been having an affair with a 24-year-old since 2020. She died in the crash too. And oh, she'd just had his twin sons a few months before. So now there's twin infants out there without parents. How did I find all this out? Through my daughters, because their dad took them to meet the babies at the hospital and told them not to tell me. They told me immediately, and when I confronted him, all hell broke loose. He became emotionally and physically abusive. We were already separated and headed for divorce when he died. So now I'm grieving a marriage that I don't even recognize anymore. Trying to hold my daughters together and getting blamed by my mother for the whole thing. According to her, I failed my husband by not being enough of a woman. She literally told me that a man wouldn't stray if he was properly cared for. Never mind that he preyed on someone 2 decades younger than him. Never mind that he hurt our children. She even blew up at me when I refused to take in the twin babies. Like, no, I'm not raising my dead husband's affair children. That's a line. But now we're at the real nightmare. Last week, my 16-year-old daughter came out to me and her sister. She told us she's gay. And honestly, I couldn't be more proud of her. We're going through hell right now, and she still felt safe enough to share that part of herself. I suspected for a while and was just waiting for her to be ready. She also wanted to tell her grandma. I warned her, but she said she wanted to just try. So she called my mother and told her. My mom hung up. Then she called me, screaming. She said my daughter was possessed, confused, sick. She's since sent me links to conversion therapy camps, religious psychologists, political rants, and, no joke, a freaking exorcist. I told her if she didn't stop, she'd never see any of us again. That we were done. And for like 24 hours, she stopped. Then I get a Facebook message from some random man, mid-20s, asking if I was the one looking to arrange marriage for her 16-year-old daughter. My heart dropped. 6 more messages came in overnight. Then my mom called me, proudly listing the men she found for my daughters, both daughters, high school-aged girls. She'd given them their names, phone numbers. I can't even describe how violated and terrified I felt. We've changed our numbers. All social media is locked down. I've stopped all financial support to my mother and told her I'm going for a restraining order. I know I need to call the cops. I've spoken to a lawyer. I didn't want it to come to this. She's still my mother, but she's also a danger. I didn't think it could get worse after the affair, or the abuse, or the betrayal. But this? Trying to marry off my minor children? I'm done. I'm exhausted, just trying to keep my kids safe while it feels like everything is falling apart. I guess I'm just here for support, or advice, or maybe just to scream into the void. Edit. I didn't expect this to get much attention, but thank you to everyone reaching out and validating what I already knew deep down. I have to go full no contact and involve law enforcement. I'm reaching out to my local police department first thing tomorrow. Edit 2. Some people asked why my daughter would even tell her grandma. The truth is, despite everything, she still hoped for some kind of acceptance. She's 16. She loves hard. I wish I could shield her from all of this. Update 1. Hey everyone. It's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update now that things are, sort of, moving forward. I've read through hundreds of comments and messages, and while I couldn't respond to everyone, please know that I saw them and I appreciate them more than I can say. I don't feel so alone in this mess anymore. So, first major thing, I did go to the police. I walked in with screenshots, call logs, message archives, and even a printout of the Facebook messages from the men my mother tried to connect to my daughters. The officer I spoke with, I'll call him Officer D, was kind, respectful, and didn't once make me feel like I was overreacting. He said right away that this was not okay, and that it clearly crossed into criminal territory. We started the process of filing for a temporary restraining order for myself and both my daughters. He also helped my lawyer get the right documentation submitted, so hopefully we'll have the temporary order in place very soon, and then move toward a permanent one. The RO will also include a provision for agents acting on her behalf, which means my mother can't send other people to harass us either. School has also been notified. I met with the principal, guidance counselor, and security officer at both of my daughter's schools. We gave them copies of the police report and photo ID of my mother. My eldest's phone had already been blown up by random strangers before we changed numbers, and I'm honestly terrified one of them might have tried to show up. But here's what really gutted me. When I told the school counselor about everything going on, my eldest, my strong, beautiful, tough-as-nails girl, broke down. She started crying in a way I haven't seen since her dad's funeral, and I realized just how much she's been holding in. The fear, the guilt, the confusion, the betrayal from the adults who were supposed to love her. She said she felt like a problem no one wants to deal with. I almost lost it. We sat in that tiny office, holding each other, just crying like we were the same person. That moment hit me harder than anything else has lately. Anyway, I also want to clarify something from my first post. A few people messaged me saying that I shouldn't be blaming culture for my mom's behavior, and I completely agree. This isn't about Guatemalan culture. This is about my mother being unhinged. My aunts, also Guatemalan, also traditional, are furious with her. They've supported my daughters from the start. One of them even helped me find a lawyer who had experience with similar cases involving elder relatives and minors. Which brings me to something else. One of my brothers, who's been NC with our mom for nearly a decade, offered to move in with us temporarily. He lives about 6 hours away but drove down the same night I told him what was going on. He's gay and came out when I was like 15, so our mom absolutely destroyed him emotionally back in the day. She tried the same conversion BS on him too. He said this whole situation brought back some nasty memories, and he didn't want my eldest to go through that without someone in her corner who gets it. He's already been a rock for her in ways I couldn't have imagined. My youngest has been a little quieter. She's always been my more reserved kid, but this whole thing has made her anxious. She's been sleeping in my bed every night since the Facebook messages started. She checks the doors at night, double locks them even after I do. It's killing me that I can't give her the peace of mind a 14-year-old should have. We're looking into therapy for both girls, and maybe me too, if I'm being honest. One more thing. The whole situation has made us rethink where we're living. This house, my childhood home, feels like a tomb. I inherited it after my dad died, but every corner of it holds memories of arguments, screaming, manipulation. It was supposed to be a fresh start when my husband and I moved in, but now even that feels tainted. Between the ghost of his affair and the shadow of my mother, I don't feel like it's ours anymore. We started looking into selling or maybe renting it out. I have a flexible job, remote IT management, and my company even offered me a transfer to another state if we wanted it. The idea of starting over somewhere new is honestly the most hopeful thing I've felt in months. We're not making any sudden moves just yet. My daughters are still in the school year and I'm not uprooting them mid-semester, but it's on the horizon, and I think it's the right choice. For now, we're doing what we can to stay safe. My daughters have new numbers. My brother is sleeping in the guest room across the hall. The police are doing daily drive-bys. And we're starting therapy next week. I won't lie, I'm still exhausted. I still have moments where I want to curl up and disappear. But I'm standing. And my girls are still here, and that's what matters. Edit. A few people suggested that I record any future calls with my mom if she tries to contact me again. Great idea. I've enabled auto-call recording on my phone. So far, she's gone radio silent, but we're staying prepared. Edit 2. To the person who said, "You're finally becoming the mother your daughters need. Thank you." That made me cry in the best way. I haven't always gotten it right, but I'm trying. Every day. Update 2. Hi again. I didn't expect to be posting this soon, but a lot has happened in the last week, and I wanted to keep everyone updated. especially those of you who've messaged me just to check in. I still can't get over how strangers on Reddit have become more supportive and kind than half of my actual family. Thank you for that. So, the legal stuff is finally getting traction. As of this week, there's an active investigation into my mother, not just for what she did with my daughters, though that's the primary concern, but also for something older, something I don't feel comfortable getting into yet, because it involves other family members and a situation that was buried for a long time. I had no idea it was even being looked into again until the detective mentioned it. The silver lining to all of this? Because minors are involved, we're likely getting our restraining order expedited. My lawyer was cautiously optimistic, but the detective outright told me, "We don't want to see this woman anywhere near your kids." It was the first time in a long time I felt like someone in authority really got it, like they saw how deep this goes. Also, money, or rather, the end of the money. Starting next month, November, I will no longer be financially supporting my mother. Her lease, utilities, even her stupid cable package with 5 Catholic channels? Done. My lawyer helped me separate myself from every account. I've taken myself off her emergency contact forms, removed her from any bank ties, and shut down the card she used for groceries. The only reason I didn't do this sooner was guilt. But guilt doesn't feed my kids. Guilt doesn't protect them. What really helped tip the scale? My daughters. We sat down one night after dinner, leftover mole enchiladas, nothing fancy, and just talked. No phones, no TV, just the 3 of us at the kitchen table. My youngest said quietly, "I hate this house." That cracked something open in me. She looked so small when she said it, like the walls themselves were pressing down on her. Then my eldest chimed in. She said it reminded her of too many things. Her dad's betrayal, the fights, the time she found my mother screaming at me in the backyard like I was a servant. And she was right. This house holds more shadows than memories now. So we're officially planning to move. It won't be immediate. We're aiming for late spring or early summer. But I've already started looking at smaller homes in a different county, closer to one of my aunts, who's been incredibly supportive. The house we're in now is massive, 9 bedrooms. It used to be full back when my siblings and I were little sardines under our parents' roof. Now it's just 3 of us, plus my brother, who's sticking around for a while, and the space feels cold and echoey. I've talked to a contractor about doing a few repairs and maybe renting it out. Selling would be bittersweet. It was a gift from my dad after all, but even that feels complicated. Like the house is tied to a version of him I've since realized might not have been as heroic as I once thought. My brother, the one who moved in, has been a godsend. He's been helping me research LGBTQ+ teen support groups and local meetups for my eldest. He even offered to talk to her about what coming out looked like for him back in the 90s, how different it was, and how proud he is of her for owning her truth in such a hostile environment. They've bonded more in a few weeks than she ever did with her dad in years. As for my youngest, she started smiling again. She's back to helping me with dinner, asking if we can get a house with the perfect yard. Her words, she wants a swing. I don't even know if kids still play on swings, but if she wants one, we'll find one. If it takes 100 open houses, we'll find it. I also had a long conversation with my boss this week. I explained the situation. Not every detail, but enough. He offered me a transfer, not just out of state, but international. That second option is likely a no. Too complicated, too fast. But the out-of-state one? That's a maybe. If I can get the girls settled, finish the school year, and get the house rented or sold, we might just do it. It feels surreal to even consider it, like I'm dreaming too big. But then again, surviving this year has already felt like climbing Everest barefoot. Why not dream? I'll leave off with this. I no longer consider my mother family. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the only way I can breathe. She stopped being a mother the day she endangered my daughters. I see her as a threat, a name on a legal document, someone to be neutralized. And my daughters? They're my entire world. I wasn't the perfect mom. I stayed too long in a toxic marriage. I tolerated too much from my own mother. But now I'm doing what I should have done a long time ago. We're building a life, just the 3 of us. Edit. I wanted to add something because people keep DMing me versions of the same question. Are you sure your mother isn't mentally ill? Maybe, I don't know. But being sick doesn't excuse being dangerous. She knew what she was doing when she gave grown men my daughter's numbers. That's not a symptom. That's a choice. Update 3. Honestly, this one's less about logistics and more about the emotional fallout. Things I didn't even realize I'd buried until they started surfacing. I'll try to keep it structured, but my brain is kind of a soup right now. First, the court update. We finally have a date for the restraining order hearing. It took longer than expected, mostly because of court backlogs and the added complexity of my mother's age, and the criminal investigation running parallel to our case. But it's happening. There's a date circled on the calendar in thick red marker. And for the first time, I feel like we're moving towards something final. I can't say too much about the criminal side, but there is a formal investigation into my mother for endangerment of minors and unlawful solicitation involving a minor, which basically covers her trying to matchmake my daughters to adult men. The detective even said that because some of the men were out of state, there may be federal involvement. Again, still early, but it's not being brushed aside. But here's the part I wasn't ready for. Remember in my last post how I mentioned a very old investigation that had been reopened? It's about one of my younger sisters. She died when I was 19. At the time, it was ruled an accident. She had a fall down the basement stairs. I remember that night vividly because my mother was screaming so loud the neighbors called the cops. But the story always felt off. We were told she slipped, that she'd been acting rebellious, that she was getting into things she shouldn't. But now, something new came up. I don't know what, maybe testimony, maybe new witness info. But the same detective working my daughter's case brought it up during a call with my lawyer. He said my mom's history of controlling behavior, religious extremism, and the recent attempt to marry out her granddaughters may be relevant to the old case. That shook me. It also opened a floodgate I didn't expect. I started remembering things. Nights when my sister wasn't allowed to eat dinner because she talked back. The time she came home crying because some man in his 30s had been walking her home from school at our mom's request. My mother said he was respectful and interested in a God-fearing young woman. My sister was 13. The more I remember, the angrier I get. The more ashamed I feel that I stayed in contact with that woman for so long, that I let her near my daughters. I've had nightmares every night this week. Sometimes they're about my husband, driving away from the hospital, turning to smoke in the rearview mirror. Sometimes they're about my mother, her voice echoing through the house even though she's blocked on everything. Sometimes it's my sister, staring at me in the mirror like she's asking why I waited so long. I know that sounds dramatic. I know trauma twists memory, but something deep in my bones is telling me that my sister was failed. Not just by our mom, but by all of us. And I can't let that happen again. On the lighter side, because God, I need to breathe sometimes, the girls and I are actually doing okay in the day-to-day stuff. My eldest went to her first LGBTQ+ teen event last weekend. It was hosted by a youth center about an hour from us, and my brother drove her so I wouldn't have to miss work. She came home with a bracelet someone gave her that says, "You belong." She hasn't taken it off. My youngest is still obsessed with finding the house with the perfect yard. She made a spreadsheet on my laptop. She's a little nerdy, I love it, with categories like swing potential, shade tree availability, and driveway for skating. I told her she should be an architect. She told me she wants to be a house fairy. Honestly, same. We're planning to do a little weekend road trip in a few weeks to visit one of the towns we're considering moving to. Just the three of us. Plus my brother if he can swing the time off. No expectations, just a chance to feel out what life could be like when we're finally free of all this. And the house? It's weird, but it's already starting to feel less like home. I boxed up some of my dad's old books and found one of those stupid framed signs he used to hang all over the place. God bless this mess. I sat on the floor of his old office and just laughed until I cried. Because yeah, it's a mess, but at least now I'm the one cleaning it up. I don't know what comes next. The court hearing could go our way. It could get delayed. My mother could fade into silence or explode back into our lives with more chaos. I'm ready for either, or at least I'm trying to be. But what I do know is this. My daughters will never have to ask whether I'm on their side. They will never wonder if I believe them, protect them, or see them. They'll never have to scream to be heard, because I hear them loud and clear. Edit. I wasn't expecting this post to get much traction, but thank you for reminding me that grief and rage can coexist with healing. To the person who said, "Your daughter's bracelet means more than your mother's legacy," I needed that. Final update. It finally happened. After months of emotional limbo, court prep, sleepless nights, and the constant fear that one wrong move would bring everything crashing down, we had the restraining order hearing. And we won. But I need to tell you what it felt like. Because it wasn't just a legal victory. It was something else. Something deeper. It was liberation. We arrived early. Me, my lawyer, my eldest, 16, and my brother, who insisted on coming for support. My youngest stayed with one of my aunts. We didn't want her in the courthouse. Too much. Too soon. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought my mom wouldn't even show, but she did. She walked in like nothing was wrong. Wore pearls. Sat straight. Didn't look at us. But she brought a Bible and held it like a shield. I wish I were joking. When the judge asked her if she understood the claims being made, she smiled and said, "My daughter is confused. She's always had a rebellious spirit. I'm just trying to bring her girls back to God's path." I felt my daughter stiffen next to me, and I reached out and held her hand. I didn't let go the entire time. My lawyer presented everything. The messages, the Facebook DMs, the screenshots of conversion camp links, the phone logs, the testimony from the detective, even the statement from the school counselor confirming emotional distress in both daughters, especially after the incident with the suitors. My mother kept interrupting, saying things like, "That's not true," and I was just helping. The judge warned her once, then twice. The third time, he told her flat out that soliciting adult men to court minors was grounds for criminal investigation, not just a family disagreement. I watched my mother's face change. It was like, for the first time, She realized the law wasn't going to protect her old school values. Then my daughter spoke. She didn't have to, but she wanted to. The judge allowed it, and my girl stood up, voice shaking, and said, I told my grandma who I was. She told me I was sick. She tried to marry me to a man I never met. I just want to feel safe again. That was it. Not even a full minute, but I'll never forget the way the courtroom went quiet. The judge granted a permanent restraining order for both of my daughters, myself, and my brother, due to past abuse. My mother is prohibited from contacting us directly or through third parties. Violations will result in arrest. The judge even added an addendum that she may not post about us online or attempt to solicit communication on behalf of the minors. She didn't look at us when she left. She hasn't tried to contact us since. The silence is heavy, but welcome. So much has shifted in just the past few days. It's like we're finally allowed to exhale. The house is quieter, not because we're tiptoeing, but because we don't have to brace ourselves anymore. I took a full week off work. The girls and I slept in, baked, watched dumb movies. Turns out my youngest is obsessed with vintage horror. Who knew? We started packing things for donation. Clothes we've outgrown. Decor that feels like it belongs to a different life. We even packed up one of my dad's old crucifixes, the big one that used to hang in the hallway. I stood there staring at it for a long time, and my eldest walked up behind me and whispered, You don't have to carry their ghosts anymore. I lost it. In a good way. In the kind of way that feels like letting go. We're still on track to move by summer. I've narrowed it down to 2 towns in a neighboring state. Both have great schools, local queer youth centers, and actual trees. My daughter's perfect yard might be within reach. We even toured a house last weekend that had a porch swing and an attic big enough for a studio or library. When we left, my youngest looked at me and said, It smells like fresh paper and cinnamon. Can we live here? Maybe. We'll see. My job has approved the out-of-state transfer. It's official now. I'll be starting with a new regional office in June. Same role, just new location, new team, clean slate. As for my brother, he's planning to come with us. We've joked about turning the guest room into Uncle's lair of solitude, but truthfully, he's become the rock we didn't know we needed. The girls adore him. I can't imagine this next chapter without him. I don't have a dramatic mic drop ending. There's still therapy, still grief, still occasional nightmares, but there's also breakfast smoothies, open windows, and plans for raised garden beds. There's my daughter giggling on the phone with a friend from LGBTQ+ group, and my youngest drawing floor plans for fairy castles in her sketchbook. There's healing. Slow, imperfect, beautiful healing. My mother is no longer my mother. And strangely, that has made me feel more like a mother than I've ever been. We're okay. We're going to be okay. Thank you, Reddit, for walking through the fire with us. I just want to say this. If you're reading this and you're in a situation where someone, parent, partner, whoever, is making you feel unsafe or small, please know it is not too late. You're not too old or too stuck. You are allowed to reclaim your life. I'm 45, and I'm finally learning what peace feels like.